What's up? I'm very late with this video. As a matter of fact, by the time it posts, the Showtime card will probably start. I'm having a problem with my account, and it's affecting. I think somebody hacked. I think somebody. Well, anyway, there's a problem with my comments, my views. I don't know what's going on, but anyway. Um, let's talk Davis Gamboa. For Gamboa, he's got to look at this as his last real shot at a title if he loses. Even though I don't consider this a real title. If you ever talk to Robert the Ghost Guerrero, he'll tell you he's a 6-time champion in 4 different weight classes. No, Robert, you were one of my favorite fighters in the lower weight classes. But you're more like a 3-time champion in 2 different weight classes or something like that. If you see things like interim champion or regular champion, and in some cases, a fight for a vacant belt, we don't count those as real world titles. It's gotten out of hand. Now, sometimes with vacant, you get a pass, but even then, depending on who the opponent is, a lot of those are gift wrapped titles. So to be clear, the main event and the co-feature tonight are not for real titles. They are for bogus WBA belts. The WBA has sold its soul. The WBC is just as bad. Sold its soul. The WBO seems one day to be on its way to joining the ranks. The next day it seems like it's as it should be, but anyway. And the IBF has held its ground. It still has made some questionable decisions as of late, but anyway. In this fight, we know Davis doesn't like to play around, so for Gamboa to win, he may have to do what he said the other day. It's going to be a war. It's going to be a war. That plays to Davis's advantage, but what else do you want the old man to do? He's 38 years old, and, well, that's the age they give us for the Cuban, which means he's likely anywhere from 3 to 15 years older than his listed age. That's just how it is. If it goes some rounds, then youth takes over. Yorkis, you have the speed and power to match Davis. Your best bet may be to see if you can catch him and get to him. Another way Team Gamboa might try to strike is Gervonta Davis was overweight. And if you think you can go to the body and control him enough to get to those middle rounds and hope he gasses, go for it. But once again, at age 38, I like to see him use his speed and angles and try to get Gervonta out early. He has the speed and power on a given night to beat Gervonta to the punch. Odds are he won't. But what are the odds of him going to the body and dragging the fight to the mid to late rounds? Probably less. And then let's say that happened. How much would he have left in the tank to turn it up at that point? It just doesn't seem to jive logically. So I'll say just make it a firefight and see if you can get off and slip a punch and land yours. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. But Gamboa shot as a fighter. He looked tremendous in his last fight. He beat Rocky Martinez. But Rocky was it 3 years? He was out for 3 years, and he got stopped by Vasily Lomachenko. So he got knocked out by Lomachenko and then took 3 years off. Was it 2? I think it was 3. So they brought him in there for Gamboa to look good because this was something that was set up. All right, for Davis, well, you get inside and punch in combinations. You have to be aware you have a guy who can match your speed and power. You tried to chump him. You tried to chump him at the face-off yesterday. So knowing that, I think Gamboa is expecting you to try to come after him from the bell. Not sure what Yorkis did, if anything, to set Gervonta off. Gamboa has seemed classy throughout this buildup. I mean, dating all the way back to the card earlier this year in Baltimore, where he was the co-feature. So I'm not sure what set Gervonta off. If Davis wins, which he should, he's been guaranteed a pay-per-view. For his next fight. And I had to review the wording of that to know if they mean he'll be the main event of the pay-per-view or not. And if you think he's a pay-per-view star, or even if you don't, it won't matter. The premier blueprint the premier blueprint has been established for who they feel are the most marketable guys. They're going to make them pay-per-view guys. What they do is, for your subconscious, they'll add the word star next to it. So your Errol Spence Jr., Deontay Wilder, Gervonta Davis, guys like that, they'll become the pay-per-view guys. Premier's done about 9 or 10 pay-per-views in like the last 15 months, 20 months, something like that. And let me give you an example. When Tony Harrison fought Jermell Charlo in the rematch a few weeks ago, Tony Harrison made $500,000. $500,000. Now, if this was 2 years ago, Harrison would have made $2 million, especially as the champion. But Premier Boxing has chosen to go the way of pay-per-view for its stars, or who they feel their stars are. So if those stars or wannabe stars want to make more money, Showtime doesn't have the budget to pay them. So pay-per-view, the pay-per-view model works for them. For Top Rank, it's ESPN and ESPN Plus app that works for them, and to an extent works for Golden Boy also. You understand? The DAZN app works for Matchroom Fighters, for Golden Boy, and others. Who else? Okay, you can mix in like main events under both DAZN and ESPN and their Plus app also. Frank Warren and his Queensberry Promotions. That falls under the ESPN and DAZN apps. So those are your majors. Those are your major promoters. Premier, Top Rank, Matchroom, Golden Boy, Queensberry. So until a deal is struck, Premier will continue to use network TV and pay-per-view. But that's what works for them. For Davis, if he wins and the plan, let's say the plan is to make him the pay-per-view main event, I'm not sure what he can do inside of Premier as far as to get pay-per-view buys. Now, don't get me wrong, the standard has been lowered. I mean, you do 300,000 and it's like a big success these days. So if the number they're shooting for is 200 to 250 to 275 or 300 tops, then, well, maybe you get there. But inside of Premier, if he's going to do a pay-per-view, I mean, you got Javier Fortuna maybe. Maybe you can get Lee Selby to come from the UK and jump on that. I doubt Rances Barthélemy is the option. Is Robert Easter Jr. an option for him? Don't know. If not, if it's not inside, then you got to play ball with Golden Boy or Top Rank or DAZN. And what that means is Lomachenko. That means Lopez. That means Haney. That means Luke Campbell. That means Ryan Garcia. Maybe even Alberto Machado. Unless you can get a Carl Frampton, a Leo Santa Cruz, a Gary Russell Jr. to move up and fight Gervonta. Then, hey, maybe you have something there. If that's the case, that works. That works for me. Just don't criticize Crawford when you hear names like let's see, like Jose Carlos Ramirez if he steps up, or Regis Prograis, or Amir Imam, who I think is already at 47, I believe, or the kid that Josh Taylor or something like that. Like, don't get mad, because those are, especially, oh man, Jose Ramirez versus Crawford. My gosh, you talking about a dog fight? I like those. Just like I would like if a Leo steps up or a Gary Russell Jr. Um, a Santa Cruz even. At least you know those guys will come to fight. Carl Frampton, he just might be too small. But I can't say I wouldn't watch it. I mean, they wouldn't dare revisit the Jason Sosa fight, would they? Would they? Hopefully not. Let's see. The Badu Jack versus Gene Pascal fight. Listen, you, and the world referred to him as Jean Pascal for years. And he's been known as Jean just as far as we can remember, right? Well, see, here's me at the Pacquiao-Broner fight calling him Jean and him responding.
John. Broner, Pacquiao.
The winner.
Anyway, he's going by Gene now. This is another fight for a bogus title. I'm unsure who will win and wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw. I don't trust the stitches in the middle of Badu's forehead. I don't trust the desire of Gene. If you remember, he had this retirement fight and he won, and then he retired, and then he decided to come back. So I want to pick Pascal in this one, but I'll go with Jack because of the promotion. If the scar busts open on his forehead, all bets are off. You know, Terrence Crawford has taken a lot of flack based off of one website reporting he turned down an offer received to fight Sean Porter. Okay, let's get a few things straight. Point number one. When Porter was a champion, Crawford called him out. When Keith Thurman Jr. had titles, Crawford called him out. When Danny Garcia had a belt, Crawford called him out. When Manny Pacquiao had a belt, as he does now, Crawford called him out. When Errol Spence Jr. had a belt, as he does now, Crawford called him out. Not to mention when Jeff Horn had a title, Crawford fought him. Point number two. If it was Porter's side making the offer, as the article pretty much said, and not Crawford's team who made the offer, then we don't know what the offer was. My belief is if an offer is made, it'll come from the champion's team, not a former champion coming off a loss. Think about it. Point number three. Deontay Wilder turned down at least 4 offers from Anthony Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn. At least 4. Including a $150 million offer, and more importantly, 0 options. he also turned down at least 2 offers, at least 2, from Hearn for a fight with Dillian White, including a $7 million offer, and more importantly, 0 options. And this guy White has been his mandatory for a few years. So where's the WBC on that one? Well, I'll tell you where they were. Prior to that, they did the same thing for years with Adonis Stevenson. By the way, did you know Adonis Stevenson's real name is Stevenson Adonis? Look it up. So, did Wilder get criticized by these same people who criticized Crawford? Let's move on. Point number 4. Sean Porter just lost to Errol Spence Jr. I thought Porter won that fight, but that's beside the point. He lost the fight, and he's no longer a champion. So, by fighting Porter, Crawford has everything to lose and not much to gain. If he beats Porter without controversy, then they'll say he fought Spence Jr.'s leftovers. If he wins, he doesn't get a title, which is his goal. Terrence Crawford wants to unify titles and become undisputed like he did in the other division. But he's wrong for that. I mean, while this guy is, it's beyond questioning, while he's being crucified, while he's being criticized by I don't know how many people, he wants to fight the champions. I applaud him. But he's wrong. Listen, Porter offers a name on the resume, which people want to be critical of. But people are calling Crawford a cherry picker. Let me ask you this. Was he a cherry picker when he walked up on Spence Jr. at that Maurice Hooker fight? I mean, was he cherry picking then? And I could name quite a few more fighters who I'd be critical of, but I'm not going there. People need to chill. They really do. All right, I'll catch you on the next one.